Good morning, dear students. Welcome to the online classes. Today we will discuss about the connectors. At first, we discuss about the definition of the connectors. What are connectors? Connectors are the words used to link large groups of words, phrases and sentences. You can also use them to connect paragraphs, to give them coherence. Sentence connectors are usually placed at the beginning of a sentence and may be categorized as follows. Connectors can be categorized as connectors of contrast, connectors of similarity, connectors of sequencing, connectors of order of importance, connectors of particularization, connectors of exemplification, connectors of explanation, connectors of emphasizing, connectors of focusing and linking, connectors of conclusion, connectors of correction, connectors of time, connectors of dismissal. At first, we will discuss about the connectors of contrast. At first, the first connector, which is however. As example, the restaurant has the best kitchen in town, however the staff are quite rude. The second one is in contrast. Example, house prices have gone up this year. In contrast, car prices seem to be stagnating. Third one is nevertheless. Example, I was in so much pain, I didn't want to get up in the morning. Nevertheless, I went to football practice as usual. Next one is nonetheless. Example, I don't think Sean has serious behavioral problems. Nonetheless, I will talk to him first thing in the morning. Next one is yet. Example, I have asked you 1,000 times not to leave your dirty socks on the floor, yet you keep doing it. Next one is on the other hand. England has the best language schools. On the other hand, it has the worst weather. Next one is by comparison. Example, going out with Jim has its risks. By comparison, being with Tim is as easy as falling off a dog. On the contrary, I didn't hate Jim. On the contrary, I am rather fond of him. Instead, example, I didn't want to take a side in the argument. Instead, I put my headphones on and listened to some smooth jazz. Next one is in any case. I was thinking of going around Jim's place. In any case, I haven't been invited. All the same. Example, yes, he is very good looking. All the same, I don't think you should go out with him. After it, next will be the connectors of similarity, such as likewise. Example, you can't give your phone number to every man who asks for it. Likewise, you can't go out with everyone who fancies you. Next is similarly, you are not allowed to use your phone here. Similarly, you have to switch it off when you are in the library. Next is correspondingly. Example, she is an excellent photographer. Correspondingly, her paintings are works of art. In the same way, example, cutting down on sugar will help you lose weight. In the same way, doing more exercise will help you get rid of a few kilos. Next is also. Example, I want to talk to Prince Harry when I am in England. Also, I want to meet his sister-in-law. The next one are the connectors which emphasize on result. Just as a result, example, I have done an ironic healing course. As a result, I have been able to cure my neighbor's sick cat. as a consequence. Example, Jack has skipped school on many occasions. As a consequence, he has failed his French test. Therefore, example, we are going to experience some meteor showers in the next few years. Therefore, the number of miraculous self-healing will rise. Thus, example, you didn't tell me you wanted to come, thus we won't be taking you with us. Accordingly, plenty of tourists visit the area in summer. Accordingly, selling handmade objects is the main source of income for locals. The next one is the connectors showing sequencing. Just as first of all, in the first place, to begin with, for one thing, secondly, in the second place, for another thing, thirdly, in the third place. Also, besides, in addition, furthermore, moreover, finally, lastly, last of all. Example, first of all, I'd like to talk about the benefits of having a pet pig. To begin with, example, pet pigs are cleaner than dogs. Next one is for one thing. Example, for one thing, they are completely loyal to their owners. Secondly, their impressive numerical skill must be mentioned. For another thing, example, for another thing, you might want to consider how cute they look in pajamas. As I earlier told you that there are the connectors which show sequencing, just as first of all, in the first place, to begin with, for one thing, secondly, in the second place, for another thing, thirdly, in the third place, also. Moreover, finally, lastly, last of all, and another connectors which show order of importance, such as most importantly, primarily, above all, most significantly, essentially, basically. Some connectors which show particularization, such as in particular, particularly, more specifically. There are some connectors which show explanation, that is to say, that is namely, in other words, put differently, and some show exemplifications, such as for example, for instance, to illustrate. Some shows emphasizing as a matter of fact, in fact, actually, indeed, etc. And there are some connectors which show focusing and linking, such as for, with respect to, regarding, with regard to, as regards, talking of, as far as concerned. And there are some connectors which show conclusion, such as in conclusion, in brief, in summary, to sum up, all in all. Some connector shows correction, such as rather, to be more precise. Some connectors which show time, at first, then, afterwards, in the meanwhile. Some show dismissal, such as anyway, anyhow, at any rate. There are so many connectors which show adding just as and as well as moreover, furthermore, in addition to, on top of that, another point. Some show comparing just as similarly, likewise, as well, like, equally, in the same way. Some shows summary, such as in short, on the whole, in other words, on the whole, overall, generally, in brief. Some show example, such as for example, for instance, that is, such as revealed by, illustrated by, specifically, in particular, for one thing, this can be seen, an instance of this. There are some connectors which is used to show opinion, just as I think, I believe, I feel, in my opinion, in my view, as far as I know, it seems likely, it seems to me, in my experience, as far as I am concerned. I tend to think that as far as I understand. If we talk about the connectors of contrast, I earlier told you that that is a connector whereas, which is used to show contrast, such as chicken meat is white whereas cow meat is red. However, that man has much money, however, he isn't happy at all. Yet, the weather was snowy, yet it was not cold. Despite, I can manage to see cheerful despite everything. Even so, the hypothesis is true, even so, further research is required. But, he is a very handsome, but he is very rude person. Although she loved her job, she decided to quit the job. However, is used to indicate a contrast or contradiction. On the other hand, is used to say something that is different from the first thing mentioned. Even so is used to indicate something that is unusual, extreme. Though is used to show that two ideas are opposing one another. Instead, it means in place of something or someone else. In contrast is used to compare two things or people and to say that the second one is very different from the other one. As example, this child is short and fat. In contrast, her sister is tall and thin. Some people are extroverts. In contrast, some people are introverts. In these two sentences, we can see there are the comparison between two things. Yet is used to add something that is surprising after the first sentence, which are mentioned before, such as it is a long-term business, yet it is more fun than other jobs. But is used to add a statement which is different from what you have said before, such as I know the answer to the problem, but I do not know why it is. He is a very handsome, but he is a very rude person. While is used to show while it means during the time or throughout the time. As example, while Jackson was in London, he went to see July. While you were pregnant, my little girl was 1 year old. Although used for introducing a new statement that makes many statements surprising. As although nobody is at home, some sounds are coming from the house. Although she loves her job, she decided to quit her job. Although he works hard, he is not successful in the course, despite or in spite of. These two words are used to show something which happened without being affected by something else. I can manage to stay cheerful despite everything. Example, in spite of warnings, he did not take any precautions. That man is very stingy despite having a lot of money. Dear student, there are so many connectors which we can use during the working time. Thank you.